My name is Tammy Kovaluk, and this presentation is on a biomechanical analysis and training program to enhance proper pitching biomechanics for a baseball pitcher. To develop a sound training plan for minimizing risk of injury and enhancing performance, it is important to understand the biomechanics of the baseball pitch and investigate the athlete's pitching biomechanics. The baseball pitch is a highly complex movement under large forces. At the glenohumeral joint, there are anterior shear forces of half the body weight and distraction forces of 1.5 times the body weight. To both protect the glenohumeral joint and for optimal biomechanics, dynamic shoulder exercises are important. It requires precise mechanical coordination and timing with the kinetic chain action of foot plant to trunk rotation to shoulder rotation, elbow translation, and finally to wrist translation. Throughout the baseball pitch, forces are transmitted from one joint to another in succession across the body's kinetic chain. The baseball pitch's delivery might be from the arm, but it's really a whole body movement, with energy and power development largely from the lower extremity. Adequate strength and mobility is needed in the hip musculature for the body to work together, sequentially and producing a smooth, accurate, and powerful motion. Any undertrained muscle will result in a weak link across the kinetic chain, decreasing velocity and accuracy, and increasing potential for injury due to compensatory mechanisms. This is a video of a baseball pitch by Kurt Horn, a locally talented grade 12 left-handed pitcher with aspirations of playing at a professional level. The baseball pitch has 6 main phases, which we are going to analyze in further detail. The wind-up, stride, arm cocking, arm acceleration, arm deceleration, and follow-through. Phase 1 is the wind-up. The wind-up begins when the athlete steps back with the stride leg and ends with the knee drive of the stride leg. The body balances on the trail leg as it begins to rotate away from the intended target, storing potential energy before acceleration. Major muscles are the core, including hip musculature of gluteal muscles and rectus femoris. Both concentric strength of the lead leg and isometric hip abduction strength of the trail leg are important. Phase 2 is the stride. It begins with shoulder abduction to prepare for cocking and ends with foot plant. Potential energy begins to convert into mechanical energy. Major muscles involved are the core, including hip musculature, deltoids, and wrist extensors. The glute medius muscles of the trail leg are now used concentrically. Phase 3 is arm cocking. This phase ends with shoulder abduction and lateral rotation, with the throwing arm reaching 90 degrees. The anterior shoulder at the end of cocking phase produces high forces, up to half of the body weight on the glenohumeral joint. Kinetic chain action begins and major muscles include the rotator cuff, pec major, subscapularis, latissimus dorsi, as well as infraspinatus and teres minor to stabilize the humerus during maximum external rotation. Phase 4 is arm acceleration. It begins at the point of maximal external rotation and ends with ball release. The shoulder should be abducted by about 90 to 100 degrees. Major muscles include tricep extensors for forearm extension, pec major and latissimus dorsi for velocity and arm speed, and subscapularis for humeral head stability. A large amount of force and velocity is applied during the acceleration phase. Anterior displacement force is approximately 50% of the body weight. Internal rotation angular velocity is approximately 7,300 degrees per second. Rotator torque at the shoulder can build up to 27,000 inch-pounds of kinetic energy at the ball release. Phase 5 is arm deceleration. Here there are high eccentric forces. Deceleration forces are about twice the acceleration forces, but this is for a shorter period of time. The rotator's cuff stabilizes the glenohumeral joint, and supraspinatus decelerates internal rotation. Other major muscles include the core, including hip musculature, glutes, rectus femoris, and hamstrings. The last phase is the follow-through. The support leg moves forward and contacts the ground to stop forward motion. The delts, rotator cuff, and biceps all work at high levels eccentrically to reduce distraction forces at the elbow. The stride leg absorbs some of the forces produced during acceleration. Stability and strength of the hip musculature is very important as well. The next three slides are illustrating the qualitative and anatomical analysis of a baseball pitch for a left-handed pitcher. This slide shows the joint motions, muscle contractions, and active muscle groups of the left wrist and elbow. Notice during the stride phase, the wrist is in hyperextension. These are the joint motions, muscle contractions, and active muscle groups of the left shoulder. Rapid acceleration or impact occurs during the stride, cocking, and acceleration, with extreme range of motion occurring during the stride phase. Here are the joint motions, muscle contractions, and active muscle groups of the trunk and right hip. Ground impact occurs during the stride and cocking phases, and trunk hyperextension occurs during the stride phase. Overall, Kurt has excellent pitching biomechanics. He displays adequate knee lift during the wind-up phase. His stride is within the recommended 80 to 90% of his height. His arm position is at the recommended 90 degrees and at shoulder height. The stride leg, throwing arm, front arm, and body resembles a T position, with both the lead elbow and throwing elbow as high as the shoulders. During the acceleration phase, Kurt displays good weight distribution on his lead leg. He does not land on his toes, for example. He has the correct foot position and arm position. During the deceleration and follow-through, his head is directly over the stride leg. His glove is correctly held at his torso rather than allowing it to drop. Although he has a relatively high knee lift, Kurt does it with ankle inversion rather than, ideally, dorsiflexion only. There are a couple of recommended exercises, but before I would proceed to those, I would recommend testing his ankle dorsiflexion and eversion mobility and prescribing a wall ankle mobility and/or ankle eversion with band as required. The ankle joint needs adequate mobility to be able to perform the movement. These are illustrations of wall ankle mobilization and ankle eversion with band. Here is an illustration of the cable flexion with adduction. The purpose of this exercise is to train proper ankle mechanics during a similar motion as the wind-up, along with stability and strengthening hip and core musculature. You can use a cable or band to promote ankle eversion by feeding the mistake. I would progress this exercise with chop patterning using a cable or band to match timing and motion. This adds timing element along with core strength and main shoulder musculature. Recommended load is 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions. The purpose of the lateral step-up with knee drive includes neuromuscular training of proper ankle mechanics, single leg stability, and strengthening core and hip musculature, including the glute medius. It's important to strengthen the glute medius as abduction plays an important role in the trail leg, especially during the wind-up and stride phases. I would begin with a slow, controlled motion, then increase tempo as Kurt is able to display adequate form. Ideally, we would match the tempo of the wind-up phase. We would then progress to adding medicine ball rotations for timing and increased stability. The recommended load is 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. We're doing higher repetitions with the purpose of gaining motor control rather than pure strength. The other main flaw, which could be argued as the most important to focus on, is that Kurt drags his back foot during the cocking through deceleration phases. He also cuts his hip rotation short. Notice he's trying to gain extra rotation after the follow-through. I believe the foot drag is causing this. Dragging the foot all the way through the follow-through is an indication that he's not bracing up his front leg and is not transferring sufficient load onto his front leg. Once he braces up his front leg sufficiently, the back foot should come off the ground. The extended leg drag results in a loss of energy transfer from his lower body to his arm and hand for ball release. Because this limits trunk rotation during the follow-through, exercise suggestions will focus on correcting his extended foot drag. Recommended exercises include the Bulgarian squat with foot lift, flamingo single leg RDL combo, and a variety of single leg medicine ball work. We're including dynamic shoulder exercises here. Focus is on stability and strength transferred into dynamic neuromuscular control for balance and coordination under explosive movements. The purpose of the Bulgarian squat with foot lift is to increase single leg stability and strengthening of hip musculature, especially the gluteal muscles, rectus femoris, and hamstrings. The same musculature and in a similar position that Kurt would use during the deceleration phase. This will increase his ability to brace the lead leg in order to eliminate the foot drag of the back leg. We would start with 5-second isometric holds at the down portion of the Bulgarian squat with his foot lifted off the box. Once he is able to demonstrate adequate strength in this, we would progress to timing the foot lift with the eccentric or down portion of the Bulgarian squat. The last progression would be to incorporate medicine ball work, first by holding a medicine ball at the front leg stance and then performing a medicine ball rotation towards the front leg stance. This would be timed with the eccentric contraction. Basically, as he goes down, he would rotate the medicine ball towards the front leg, and as he would do the up portion of the movement, he would bring the medicine ball back away from the leg. The sequence progressively challenges his stability, neuromuscular control, and coordination. Recommended load is 3 to 5 reps of 3 sets, progressing to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. The Flamingo RDL is another exercise to challenge Kurt's balance and stability. Again, the purpose is to increase Kurt's lead leg stability for increasing his ability to brace the lead leg, thus eliminating the excessive foot drag. Flamingos engage his lower body and core stabilizers, and the single leg RDL forces the hips and core to react and control the medicine ball, resulting in improved balance and muscle coordination during explosive movements, a must when delivering a 90+ mile/hour fastball. We would start the movement without medicine ball throws, and when Kurt shows adequate stability, we would progress to using medicine ball tosses without both the Flamingos and RDL. Then using a heavier medicine ball, using the AirX pad, or performing barefoot as his balance improves. Recommended load is 3 sets of 10 to 15 Flamingo tosses, followed by 8 to 10 RDLs. The baseball pitch is a very complex movement, requiring a combination of mobility and stability, specific strength, explosiveness, timing and coordination, accuracy, and power. Mechanical tweaks can refine a player's game, but a comprehensive workout program, one that promotes mobility and stability and trains muscles to fire faster, is equally important to maximizing performance and reducing risk of injury. Maximizing performance and reducing injury go hand in hand, especially with the pitcher. For optimal athletic performance, it is necessary to investigate an athlete's biomechanics and develop an individualized program, focusing on eliminating his or her weaknesses.